All right, now it's time to make another pass on our homepage for Ernie Sports Deli. So on the left here, I have the local copy of the Ernie Sports Deli page, and on this tab, I have the online version. And one thing you'll notice is if I start at the top and go down, the top bar is quite a bit different than what they have, both in size and in spacing from the top, the bottom, and the sides. So this video is just going to cover getting the top bar exactly perfect, and then we'll move on in other videos. So the first thing that you'll notice is that the spacing of the text up against the top of the browser here, there is no spacing, and here there is some. So that's a pretty quick fix. If I come into our top bar div here, which coincides with this div right here, so I'm doing a class selector for top bar and selecting the top bar class here. And I'm going to simply put in padding 10 pixels. And what this will do is add space of 10 pixels to the top and onto the right here and to the left and then to the bottom. So save that with Control S, refresh it, and that space appears. So that looks about similar to the space that we have on the Ernie site. Next, I will look at this text right here for the address, and we'll see that they have a dot here and that it's broken up on 2 lines. So that's an HTML change, which I'll do that by coming into our address, and I will just I'm going to copy and paste that dot because I don't know how to type it in with the keyboard. I don't know what the code is, so just right click, copy, come into Atom, right click, and paste. We get that little dot there. And then they have it on 2 lines, so I'll do a break. So I'll save that, refresh, and you'll see we get the dot and the break. That Orem Utah is on a separate line. Now a problem here is that their content is aligned to the right and our content is aligned to the left. So I need a way in CSS to go and select this A tag and align it to the right. There's a few ways to do that, but I'm just going to simply come in here and do a class called top bar __ address. Save that. Now notice I did top bar, and this is 2 underscores, __, and then address. The reason I'm doing that is because of a system called block element modifier. You can read about this by searching for block element modifier on Google and going into this section on naming, and they present a whole naming convention for naming for class names and naming elements in CSS. And a little quote here that is so true, and we'll take a tangent for a second. It says there are only 2 hard problems in computer science: cache invalidation and naming things. And you'll find this to be true, that naming things is pretty tough. So for us, we're going to follow a similar pattern where we're inside of the top bar block and the element is this address, so we're going to do top bar __ address. Maybe at a later lesson we'll talk more about BEM, but for now just trust me. So for style, we'll come into style CSS and we'll do that selector for top bar __ address, and we will put in text align right. Save that. And voila, our text is aligned to the right. Now another thing you'll notice is that the spacing here between the 2 lines is almost non-existent on our version here, and on their version they have spacing. And that we can fix with an attribute called line height. So I'm going to inspect the element on their site and go to computed, like we talked about in the last lesson. And I'm going to look at the line height that they've used, which is 36 pixels. So in my top bar address selector here, I'll say that the line height is 36 pixels. I'll save that. Refresh, and now we have that space there. So that's looking pretty good. Compared to theirs, looking good. Now in doing that, our phone number is aligned on the baseline, not at the top, where theirs is aligned at the top. The reason ours is doing that is because if you remember when we did our CSS reset, If you copy this and you paste it into the browser, in the reset, they have done vertical baseline or vertical align to the baseline on all of these elements as a standard default. So I need to come and change that in our style sheet to be vertical top. I want this to align to the vertical top. So looking in our CSS, I need to be able to select this A tag and do vertical align top. Now similarly to the last problem, I don't have a way to select that directly. So I'm going to put class equals top bar underscore underscore phone. Save that. Come back to the style.css and type in top bar underscore underscore phone. And I'll tell that that element I want to be vertically aligned to the top inside of the box. And I'll refresh. Oops, I did underscore. Vertical dash align top. Refresh, and that's vertically aligned to the top. So notice it is a dash, not an underscore. That was just a typo on my part. So vertical dash align, and that's looking pretty good. So if we compare that, I think we're looking good. One last thing here is that you'll notice that we have this background which is just solid gray, and they have a background which has some type of a gradient on it. So I'm going to right click on the side over here and inspect the element. And I'm going to make sure that I have the full div, the outer div selected, not like an inner div here. I want the full outside div. And then I'll come down to the style that they've done, and the background image they're using, they're doing a linear gradient. So by clicking on styles, I come and see their linear background gradient, and I'm just going to copy their exact code here and come into our top bar div. This is our outer div that we have on the top bar, this one right here. So I select top bar and I'll paste that in, that linear gradient. So I want the background to be this linear gradient. And you can look that up on CSS or on W3 Schools to understand what this CSS is doing exactly. But for now, we'll just come in, refresh, and we have that nice linear gradient. So we are almost perfect. It looks like they may have a little bit more padding on the top as I toggle back and forth. I'm going to make sure that we're zoomed at 100% here, and that we're zoomed at 100%. You know, and that change is kind of small. It's almost exact. So I may be able to come in and to my top bar, maybe this is like 12 pixels or something, and refresh and get that exact. So this will take a little bit of playing around to get it exactly perfect. I'm going to keep it for now at 10 pixels because I think that's basically the same here. And that will finish up our top bar. So in the next lesson, we'll go over the logo and this part right here, and then we'll move on to the navigation menu and continue to go down. But for this lesson, that's all. Thanks.